Congratulations to Tim Wakefield. He's a 200-game winner as the Red Sox win it 18-6 over the Toronto Blue Jays.
Congratulations, Tim.
Thank you. Like I always say, I've been very fortunate to wear this uniform for as long as I have, and I'm very proud of a lot of accomplishments and a lot of memories that I've had with past players and the current players that are on this team.
All right, we are back here at the Wasabi Fenway Studios looking back throughout the year, and we will continue to look back at the great moments, the impact of Tim Wakefield. Certainly these 2 days on the Jimmy Fund Radio-Telethon, Brianna Wakefield is with us, Jason Varitek joining us. These 2 days mean so much to so many people, and Bri, coming back here, knowing what your family meant to this cause, what does it mean to be back here and to still be part of this effort? You've gone over, you've visited, you've seen the kids, you see what the money does for people. How much does this mean to you?
It means everything. It really does. Ever since I was a little girl going to visit during Christmas time, it just changed my whole perspective on everything. It's just means really everything to me.
Tech, you know what this is all about, and you know how much it meant to Tim. Talk a little about what he meant for causes like this. You know, when he won the Roberto Clemente Award, he told me, I've won 2 championships, but this is the biggest honor I've ever received, and that's who he was.
Oh, absolutely, and he continued that throughout his entire career and post-career. There's a reason that he was the head of our foundation, and it's not only just doing it in a place for him just to give back, but that's where his heart is. And for me, that's always been where his heart is. And he doesn't just do what's right. He believes in what he's doing.
Lisa, you've had a lot of team captains, a lot of guys come through those doors leading it. What made Tim special?
Everything. Everything. I think, he was the first player that, I met that really was able to touch the Jimmy Fund Clinic kids, and I think just everything that he did with 150% of heart and love and kindness, and also just the incredible pride he had in his family. Like the stories I'd hear about Brianna and Trevor and just them growing up and all of that. And it was just, it just made him more of a human being that was just somebody that you all wanted to know. And I felt so grateful that we were a part of your family.
Brianna, I knew nothing about volleyball, but he would come in every night and tell me every detail of every moment of your career. He was so proud. When we talk about getting involved, though, you mentioned it. You went over Christmas and got started there. Like, Tim didn't do it alone. It was your family, right? The whole family gets involved. How much did it mean to do that, not just by yourself, right, but to know that your mom and your dad were so involved?
I just have no words. It's just, as a family, we always wanted to know that we helped someone else. And going every single year for Christmas and handing out presents. My first year going, I handed out a little bear to a little boy. And he said that it was his last day of treatment and it was the best day ever. And that really just stuck with me. And I told my dad, and he was like, "That's why we do what we do."
How old do you think you were when you first went, roughly?
Maybe 6.
Right. So, I mean, we're talking, you're probably younger than a lot of the kids you're going there to see.
Yeah.
You go back now as a young woman and you see that the fight continues, right? And that there are still, people going out, more people coming in, right? It doesn't end. The money matters. This all matters. Tell me a little about what it feels like now going back. You have a different perspective when you're a little bit older, seeing these young kids go through that, right?
Yeah, I do. I try to go back as much as I can over the summer to volunteer, and just seeing the kids, knowing that they're sick, but seeing that they're still just so full of life, like, just does something to you. You just want to do as much as you can.
Well, I think for me, watching you grow up in the clinic, and you definitely, you just kind of follow behind your dad and you watched everything he did, and that was a beautiful thing. And each year you got a little older and a little older. And then this past Christmas, I think this was the symbolic passing of the torch. And And it was a beautiful, emotional, hard day. But I don't know how you can have a hard day but also be so filled with joy. You just commanded everything that day. You took everything and you just walked with so much confidence. And I just walked behind you and I saw your dad and I was like, this is what he wanted. And you were doing it. And I was beaming, and your mom knew on that day, when we spoke after, she knew this was something that was your calling and they had done their job. And you find something that is passionate and you find something that makes your heart beat a little faster and you found it. And it was beautiful, and we're just love you.
Tech, you and I can just leave the room.
Yeah.
There's no way I can follow that up, all right? I'll just take a minute to wipe my eyes. I saw you at the run to home base. Lisa's talking about going back. Was there a moment where you decided, I'm going to carry on some of these family traditions? Was that something you had to think about and decide? Or was it just a matter of, I've done this in the past, I'm going to keep doing it?
It wasn't really a thought. I just knew. I was like, I've always gone with my dad to these special events to help others, and I wouldn't miss it, ever.
Tech, you knew the man better than most. When that sounds like I'm listening to Tim, right? I mean, you talk about the family legacy carrying on. And you've known her since before 6 years old. I mean, you've known her the whole ride. Talk a little about what you've seen in this young woman growing up before our eyes.
I mean, she's a star in her own making. She doesn't need her dad to push that any farther. She knows what she's doing, and to continue that forward for what her family, not just Tim, but also Stacy, what they've meant to this foundation and what they've meant to this community. And it's like been, not only friends and teammates for a long time, but for the last 7 years, 7-8 years, been their neighbor when they're there. Well, Christmas time, we don't see them because they go do that and then they go do stuff with their family. And part of every year is them making their trips and going into the foundation and doing those things. And, just an example of how they made that a priority and it becomes such a love for them.
I always say that the beautiful thing about the relationship between the Red Sox and the Jimmy Fund is you don't have to explain it. Like, when you got here, how quickly did you understand the connection? And when you see someone like Tim who really embraces it and sort of brings everybody with him, it's just kind of an organic relationship in that clubhouse, isn't it?
No question. And it goes everywhere. I mean, you know the Jimmy Fund before you knew Pesky. Then quickly later you're going to meet.
By the way,
yeah, but then quickly later you're going to meet Pesky, and it's just they go hand in hand. And it's been a great part of my career, of not only as a player but as a staff member, to be a part of something so big and grand. And when I talked to Greg the other day on the radio, and it's like my wife grew up here. Like, this is this is time to give. This is time to give back. And this is not only a baseball event and the Red Sox and Jimmy Fund. This is a nation event where the whole nation, everybody that grew up here, knows what this means.
Lisa, we talk about this nonstop for 2 days, but when you hear the players and when you hear the daughter of a player talking about, what does it mean to the Jimmy Fund? What does it mean to you?
Oh, I mean, I think you can't replicate that at all, of what players and managers and what the Red Sox do for us. It's really become quite a family. I think it's one of those things where you touch these kids in a way that, we all can work with them every day, and we can't fill that void, And I think it's one of those things where, I know even just when we had our mom's day out, you came out to the moms, and the moms were all excited to meet you.
Swooning was the word I heard.
For many different reasons, but those moms, they needed a break. They needed to sort of just be out for them, and that's things that we do. When the teens meet you, they're so excited of who you are. And I think every time your dad came out, he showed everyone the knuckleball. But those were things that, kids in the infusion room would be now practicing knuckleballs. And it was a way to distract them from what was really happening in their life. And every time you visit for Christmas, it's a distraction. It's a beautiful distraction. And it just fills their world with something that no one else can provide them. And that's a true gift.
There's no doubt about that. Tech, I'll ask each of you towards the end here. You've given this call a long time. Tell people why the money matters. Tell them what you've seen over the Jimmy Fund, why this money impacts so many lives.
I mean, it does. A good example is another punch in the face yesterday for me. And I wish I remember the young boy's name, but go back out on the field and take another photo. It was 19 years ago. We visited him in the hospital and we took a photo. And the young man he hugged my neck and squeezed so hard, but he's the one that's fought the fight with the money and the opportunities to be able to continue. And like most, they have such a gift of life, such a gift of wanting to live and not feel sorry for themselves. And it's not supported alone. The families go through so much, but the money, everybody needs help. And it's unfortunately something that isn't always paid for, and we have to provide opportunities for people to get money to get the medical attention, the housing, everything.
Yeah, it's all expensive. No doubt about that. Bree, I know it's had such a profound impact on you. You're thinking of ways to devote your life to it, right? To try to give back to it.
Absolutely. I'm trying to be a nurse practitioner in pediatric oncology because of it.
That's all. That's all. Just a little. I've set a little goal. Some of us just said, we'll go raise a few bucks at a golf tournament. You're going to give your life to it, which is beautiful. Maybe you could tell people, look into that camera on the right side. You've been there. You've seen the need. Why is this money for research, for care? Why is the money important?
The money is so, so important. It's just, I've gone in there and seen a single mom with 5 kids and having her littlest one be going through treatment, and it's just so, so hard. But the little boy is just so full of life. He's just so full of that fight to just be there.
I know exactly who you're talking about, and he touched you so much, and you took everything unbelievably about your dad and mom, and it's stored right there, and you were just going to soar. You were going to soar through life because you're so strong and so beautiful.
We're so happy you could come this year. I know that, every year we talk about it. Families of children who are going through a lot will come here because they understand the importance. And I know it's not always easy to do this stuff, Bree, but it will make a difference. And we thank you so much for coming up.
Thank you so much.
Brianna Wakefield. We'll give Tech about 3 hours to get his emotions under control because you got a game tonight, right? You get back on it. Thank you, Tech. We appreciate it as always.
Thanks for having us.
All right. There you go. If that doesn't get you to pick up the phone, I don't know what will. We've got operators standing by.